Baldur's Gate 3 is a turn-based RPG in the style of D&D, which most people know for the features like having sex with the bear and throwing dwarfs at your enemies. But that's not all that is cool about the game. It also has well-written characters and a gigantic non-linear story. That's why I decided that instead of making a normal video essay with a retelling of the plot, I'd rather make it more like a walkthrough with comments from which all the boring moments are cut. I will play on Tactician difficulty because the game is already very unbalanced, so you need to compensate a little. So let's start with character creation. Baldur's Gate has a very powerful character creation editor in which you can completely adjust all the parameters for yourself and create, for example, your own copy. Although no, you cannot create as small penis as mine. But in everything else, of course, I will try to create as similar a copy of myself as possible. That is, a muscular bearded white man, a warrior with a two-handed sword. Of course, from all the different variants of the warrior classes, I chose the paladin. Well, because he is the best for a good playstyle. But still, you shouldn't worry too much about the class, because it can later be changed at any moment of the game for a nominal fee. In addition to creating your own character, the game offers a choice of 7 pre-made characters with their own backstories. But I do not recommend starting to play as them, because then you will lose the opportunity to take this character with you to the camp and reveal his quest, secret, story, and fully enjoy all the dialogues and development of this character. Well, maybe only Dark Urge is a fan character for an ultra-evil and bloody playthrough, because this is the only character with a backstory that can be completely customized, because he does not remember his own past according to the plot and has unique options in dialogues that usually lead to very bloody consequences. Also, after creating our own character, the game asks us to create an appearance for our guardian angel. The game does not tell us what this means yet. The game begins with a cutscene where a Cthulhu-like monster feeds us to a tadpole. These monsters are called illithids. They are high-intelligence creatures that have extraordinary psionic abilities, and some of them can even fly with the help of telekinesis, simply by lifting their bodies. Illithids feed on the brains of various intelligent races, which is why they are also called mind flayers. Mind flayers are hermaphrodites and reproduce by laying eggs, which then hatch into tadpoles, from which new illithids grow. The tadpoles grow in the special pool where they are fed with the brains of their victims and slaves. Then these tadpoles are attached to a living carrier through the eyes or nose, where they can get inside the skull and then begin to eat the victim's brain. And within a week, the person to whom the tadpole is attached turns into an illithid, keeping the echoes of his life before the transformation. We begin our journey in the capsule on a flying ship of these Cthulhu, when suddenly this ship gets attacked by Githyanki warriors on dragons. The Githyanki race considers the mind flayers their main enemies, and therefore they constantly hunt them, even in other dimensions, because they, Githyanki, know how to open portals, and therefore chase the ship even when it disappears and teleports away from them. In the depth of hell, demons also join the hunt for mind flayers. The prospect of a brain-eating life does not suit us very well, and therefore we simply cannot but take the opportunity to escape from the ship. The Tempecha capsule in which we were placed so conveniently simply takes and opens, as if someone opened it specially for us. But this is not the most important thing now. First, we need to somehow escape, and only then think about what to do with the parasite in the brain, and who helped us. Immediately after we got out of the capsule and passed through our first door, we hear someone calling us, coming a little closer to the source of the sound. We see the corpse of some elf whose skull is crack open so that the brain is visible. It was this brain that called us and asked us to help him and get him out of this body. Well, we, as a noble knight who helps everyone in trouble, nobly save this elf from the escape of the most important organ in his body, destroying this very organ. Well, because a noble knight will not help all kinds of freaks, even if they ask him. After walking a little further into the hole made by one of the dragons, we meet a Githyanki girl who was in the previous cutscene and was also infected with a parasite. We are saved from the sword of this definitely beautiful future wife by this same parasite, or rather by the telepathic connection that this parasite establishes together with her parasite. In this way, the girl sees our memories, and we see hers, and this convinces her that we are not slaves of illithids, and she is still sane, and therefore she offers us to join her to escape from the ship together. Her plan is to get to the bridge and seize control of the ship to board it and escape. We don't have a choice, so we silently agree and head into our first battle in the game against weak little devils who are literally one-shot. Yes, here I should explain about combat system. All the fighting takes place in turn-based mode, but all out-of-combat activities are in the real time. The order of who goes after whom is determined by the dice that are thrown at the beginning of the battle. The order of the move is also influenced by who is the attacker and whether the enemy is taken by surprise. Each character in combat has one action point and one bonus action point. Action points are used for attacking, casting some spells, and for all basic actions such as throwing, hiding, dashing, disengaging, etc. The bonus action is usually used for buffing spells or to drink some potion, as well as for the bonus action you can jump, shove, dip the weapon in liquid. Also, most classes have some other points for which you can use certain class abilities. For example, wizards have spell slots of different levels at the expense of which you can cast different spells of different levels. If the slots run out, then the caster will no longer be able to cast their spells, except for some certain spells that do not waste slots. The paladin also has spell slots. Well, I explained all the main mechanics, so we can continue. Having dealt with the demons and going further up the arterial grid, we get to a room in which there is a capsule with a girl inside, who is considered by many to be the best girl of the title. So I found a rune on a corpse in the next room with the help of which I can open capsule. Her name is Shadowheart, and she is a cleric, and she carries a very unusual artifact with her. Remember it for now, it will appear later in the story. It is not necessary to save her here, but we will need her spells for now. After a short conversation, we go to the next room where we see the battle between the Mind Flayer and the demon. For now, Mind Flayer is on our side, so we shouldn't touch him. Also, the game itself tells us not to interfere in the battle between Mind Flayer and the demon, and to get to the transmitter as soon as possible to take control of the ship before it falls. The game gives us 15 turns for this. Otherwise, the ship will simply explode, and you will have to load the save. However, even if we do not intend to kill the devil, we can easily steal his beautiful sword, which is probably the best weapon in the game. Before the battle, we need to add to the Shadowheart spellbook spell Command and cast it on the demon, forcing him to drop his weapon. After that, we can just pick it up and run away. It's that easy. When we get to the transmitter, we see this cut scene.
The Helm's alien transponder. You've made it in time.
We should have been crushed to our deaths, but again, something kept us from dying and saved us from falling with its telekinesis or something. After we recovered, let's go and search for other survivors. Having walked a little along the shore, we see Shadowheart's body. Of course, we go to check if she is alive. We see with her the same artifact that she had on the ship.
You're alive. I'm alive. How is this possible? True. Seems like we're the lucky ones, judging by all the corpses strewn about.
Since Shadowheart and I have similar problems in the form of a tadpole in the skull, we decide to travel together and find someone who can help us with our disease. And cleric and companions can be very helpful. You know, it is difficult to play solo on Tactician. Now the two of us are moving on in search of other survivors, and not necessarily people. Next, we meet several mind-eaters, like the brain that asked to be taken out of the elf's body. But these have legs and are biting. But they are nothing compared to the paladin and cleric duo. We quickly dealt with them, and moving further through the ruins of the ship, we see a mind flayer dying under the rubble. There is no point in starting a conversation with him, as he will still only try to force us to obey him, so we just hit him on the head with a hammer and get free exp. Then, after killing this monster, I decide to turn left to meet the most charismatic companion in the game.
Hey! I need some help! Hurry! I've got one of those brain things cornered. There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others? There. Can you see it?
Just a dumb boar. You're relieved until you see the flash of a dagger.
Don't we? I saw you on the ship. Free, scuttling about. You're in league with them, aren't you? Those tentacle... Ah!
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets. You try to hold the memory, but it fades to the worm. The light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on?
The elf, who certainly does not look like a vampire, called himself Astarion. And he, like the Githyanki girl before him, mistook us for a slave of the Illithids. But again, we are saved by the tadpole in the head, or rather the fact that we are not only one with it in head. After a brief clarification of relations, Astarion decides to join our squad as well. Turning back and going the other way from the Mind Flayer corpse, we see several goblin corpses, but more importantly, we see some very unstable rune circle. It serves as a fast travel point in the game. Approaching the rune, we see a hand asking for help. Well, the hand does not look like tentacles, so I see no reason not to help.
That's it! Come on! Keep pulling! Hello.
The man we pulled out introduced himself as Gale. Oddly enough, he was also on the ship and also has the same problem as all our poor company. Therefore, without further ado, he joins our not-quite-yet Cthulhu squad. Having not walked even 10 meters, we again meet our Githyanki friend who was with us on the ship. But this time, she needs our help.
Zoru was right. Yellow as a toad, twice as ugly.
The thing's dangerous. Leave it for the goblins to kill.
And if it escapes, how will you... Oh, a guest.
Your skull pounds in response to the prisoner's white-hot stare. Her lips don't move, yet you hear her voice.
Get rid of them.
He's right. Let's go. We need to check out that blast. You didn't hear it? Shook our camp good, so we came for a look. Northwest. Look for Nettie. Whatever your wound, she can mend it.
And be careful. There are goblin traps everywhere.
Nymessa, come.
Enough gawking. Get me down. Never.
Observe and listen.
Enough
You'll
talk.
hear
Get
goblins
me
before
down.
you.
Of course, as a valiant paladin, we do not allow innocent blood to be spilled, so we simply persuade these tieflings to leave Githyanki alone. Tieflings are essentially the same people, but who have a bit of demonic blood in their lineage. After we rescue this girl, she introduces herself as Lysel, so she says that her people, that is the Githyanki race, have a special protocol of what to do and where to go if you are infected by a mind flayer. It's not surprising, Githyanki often hunt illithids, so if it is even possible to help us, then Githyanki should definitely know how. Lysel also joins our squad and goes with us. It's quite a long way to the nearest Githyanki settlement, and the tieflings told us about a druid grove nearby, and said that if we needed healing, we should go there and find a druid named Nettie. So let's go there first.
Open the bloody gate!
Nobody gets in! Zevlor's orders!
That pack of goblins will be on us any second!
What's going on?
Goblins are on our tail! Open the gate, Zevlor, now! You let goblins here? Where is the druid? Please! There's no time!
By the nine hells! Open the gate! Damnable roach! Provoke the blade! And suffer its sting.
Coward!
That was the last of them! Inside! All of you! More may follow! Open the gate!
Having quickly dealt with the goblins, we head to the grove, and we see a quarrel between the leader of the tieflings, Zevlor, and the mercenary Eredin.
For our lives. You led them straight to us, and you let them take the druid too? Unbelievable! Tell that to the dead at the gate.
Shut it, Horns! I'd be lying dead next to the goblins if you'd stalled any longer.
My duty is to this camp.
Oh, God forbid you risk your precious tail. But I shouldn't be surprised. Foulbloods ain't known for courage.
Of course, we try to calm them down.
You're right. There's too much at stake.
Worried about your precious hides, the both of you.
Enough! Squabbling is pointless. The goblins have found us.
At least we agree on that.
More goblins could arrive at any moment. Lovely.
I'm more worried about this parasite than a few goblins. You need a healer.
Zevlor explains to us that the druids who own this grove do not really like the tieflings, who are here as refugees, and want to get rid of them as soon as possible, because in their opinion, it was the tieflings who brought the goblins who attacked this grove. And so the druids plan to conduct a ritual to close the grove from the outside world, so that no one can enter or leave. And that's how they plan to drive away the tieflings and stop the goblin attacks. Well, the plan is great. I don't see any negatives in it. Anyway, because of this, Zevlor asks us for help. He wants us to go to talk with Archdruid Kaga, because she won't even listen to Zevlor. But we saved this place from the goblins, so she must owe us. Well, since we anyway wanted to visit druids, why won't we also talk to one of them? On the way to the cave where the druids live, we meet another potential companion.
Go on. Give me a best shot. Not bad. Again.
I can't do it. I'm not like you.
Umi, I don't need you to be like me. You just have to buy enough time to run. Come on. I believe in you. You can do this. You're on the right path, Umi. Go on now. Practice what you've learned. Well met. The Blade of Frontiers at your...
The man's smile bends downward, and his thoughts become yours. You are the Blade of Frontiers racing through the wastes of Avernus. Just ahead, a diabolical figure, red skin, single curled horn, blazes with flame, bloodied great axe held.
Hell's great fires. You were on the ship. Better friends than the ones hitching a ride in our skulls, at least. I'm sure you know the stories. Doomed to shed our skin and become illithid. They say there's no coming back. But we haven't sprouted any tentacles. Not yet, anyway. Could just be good luck. I'm not so...
Your minds collide once more. Will chases the fiend ignited with rancor. She is an infernal war devil. A threat to the living. Evil incarnate.
Shit! You saw her. Advocatus Diaboli.
Will is a very famous hero, a monster hunter, and he is also infected with the parasite, so he also does not mind joining us. Will tells that he has long been hunting a devil named Karlach, who has killed thousands of innocent people, and therefore must be punished for her sins. Well, okay. If she is such a scoundrel, then our paladin should definitely take on this quest and finish off the devil. But first, the druids.
Please, let us through. Let my daughter go right now!
She's a thief, hellspawn. And you will wait for Korga's judgment. Now get back!
Oh, let me through, Mragrasham, or I'll rip your damn throat out!
The girl said that the druid stole her child. I, as a brave paladin, cannot abandon a woman in trouble. So I approach her. The girl's parents say that she stole some valuable idol, which is necessary to complete some druid ritual, most likely the same one with which they plan to close the grove from the outside world. But the girl definitely does not deserve to be punished, as children are created to forgive them. We go further to the place where the druids live, and at first they don't want to let us in. But when I say that I saved this grove from the goblins, they tell me that Kaga wants to see me. Well, let's hear what she has to say. We enter the cave and see a not very attractive picture.
Please. I'm sorry.
This is madness, Korga. She's just a...
A what, Wrath? A thief? A poison? A threat? I will imprison the devil. And I will cast out every stranger. Girl, you mean parasite?
She eats our food, drinks our water, then steals our most holy idol in thanks.
Wrath, lock her up. She remains here, until the rite is complete. And keep still, devil. Tila is restless.
Come, Korga. We took back the idol. Surely...
Do it.
As a paladin, we have the right to judge her personally. And of course we show mercy and let the girl go. After the child's trial, we talk with Kega and hear nothing new. I'm not evil, I'm just protecting the grove from monsters. The ritual must be performed. Well, I understand that they tried to show gray morale here. They say that not everything is so clear-cut, and that Kaga is not a villain. She has her own motivation. Although it seems to me that she is just stupid, and that's all, because it is so obvious that the goblins would have already attacked the grove if they could, regardless of whether or not there will be tieflings in that grove. And closing the grove from the outside world will certainly not solve all problems, but will only add new ones. Kaga asks us to help the tieflings, namely to accompany them to the nearest city and to protect them from the goblins who may meet on the way. Well, before we return to Zevlor, let's not forget the first reason why we came here. We talked to a druid named Nettie.
I see you. Just give me a moment.
A moment.
This may be kept. There. It's up to her now. Life or death. Now, what was it you needed? You found her, but I still don't know what she can do for you. Why are you asking?
A tadpole. A mind flayer tadpole.
I'll do what I can. Come, follow me. I might be able to help.
Nettie tells us that she and Master Halsin have been researching mind flayers for a long time, but she knows much less than Halsin, and that's why we better turn to him. But the problem is that he was captured by goblins, and of course, if we can save and forest from goblins, and to find a druid who can help us with our illness, then it's obvious that it's worth a try. The decision is made. We go to the goblins. But first, we will talk to Zevlor. But before reaching him, at the exit from the cave, we are caught by grateful parents with a child, and they give us a medallion that can then be sold for normal money. Zevlor tells us that even if we escort them, it still won't save them from the goblin horde. Instead, he offers us another plan. If we quietly or not kill all the goblin leaders, then the horde will simply disperse without a command, and will no longer be such a serious threat. And then the tieflings will be able to leave the grove without problems. At the same time, we will save the druid Halsin from the captivity of the goblins. Well, let's go to the goblins. But first, I want to visit this tomb that I missed before. Before the entrance to it, we meet bandits. Well, we have nothing to talk about with these villains who rob the dead, so we kill them in order to rob this tomb ourselves. Having dealt with the bandits and the inhabitants of this tomb, we meet withers.
This must be ancient. No one worships the final scribe anymore.
A lot of effort to find one sarcophagus.
So he has spoken, and so thou standest before me, right as always. What a curious way to awaken. Now, I have a question for thee. What is the worth of a single mortal's life?
Well, he seems to be powerful and not very evil and immortal, so we will not conflict with him. It is better to just rest after a hard battle. Here it is worth talking about the mechanics of the camp. The point is that you can't simply restore health and spell slots after battle. For this, you need to go to the camp every time and spend supplies on it. But this is not the only function of the camp. It also serves as an element of the storytelling, because in the camp, there will often be certain events that better reveal the story of characters who we travel with. So the camp is a hub that you will need to be constantly returning to. For example, like now, this icon above the head of the characters means that they want to talk to us.
It's quite a sight. The stars, I mean. I could take or leave your chin. I can see the stars from Baldur's Gate, of course, but not with such clarity. It got me thinking, reflecting on what tomorrow might bring. When we find the druid, will he know how to bring the worm under control? Will this little adventure of ours be over? Good. I don't want you to run off just yet. You're quite the ally, after all. Traversing Avernus, surviving the crash, surviving everything that's followed. I'm not easily impressed by people, but you're stronger than I gave you credit for. Aren't you just? Sleep tight. I'll see you later. I'm sure.
A fine evening, don't you think? The moonlight shines warmly on us. The breeze caresses our faces. Hideous. All of it. Would that I were doing battle up there, among the tears. Look above. Watch the moon cross the sky. The tears follow behind it. Rocky bodies tumbling through the sea of night. One of them is my crash. Clear. Your curiosity is to be commended. Githyanki are hatched in creches all throughout realm space. Clear is one of many. It's there I first saw a Kithrak mount a red dragon. Where I slit my cousins' throats at the Vaj's command. But enough of this. You are wasting your resting time. Come dawn, we resume our search for a creche.
A tingle runs through your head and down to your feet.
Ah, there it is. That shiver. Our little brainworms have made fast friends, it would seem. How do you feel? Surprising is just the word, isn't it? Before the Illithid's unscheduled surgery, I'd felled hundreds of beasts and a fair few fiends. The tadpoles weakened me, suppressed greater talents, but beyond that, I've showed no signs of turning. No nausea, no pain, not even a hot flash. Indeed, perhaps the worm's vat was poisoned. Perhaps we're uncommonly fit. Or perhaps the tadpoles are merely on holiday. We could conjecture all night. I suppose the why doesn't matter so much as the what next. And that answer is plain as the horns on a war devil's head. We get these things out. Let's get some rest. Dawn comes sooner than we think.
The leader of the pack comes to chat. What's on your mind? You must be pleased to have a clear path forward. The sooner we find the druid house in, the better. I can't wait to get rid of this thing in my head. Head to Baldur's Gate. Someone's waiting for me. Let a girl have some secrets. Was there anything else? The same. These parasites are proving suspiciously benign. But suppose I turn. What would you do? A firm answer. I'd do the same. We'll need that kind of thinking to make it through all this. You're doing well. It's a beautiful night. I think I'll stay up to enjoy it while I still can. Rest well.
We meet again. As predicted. I shall be here in thy camp for whenever thou hast need of my services. There are many answers to that question. None are important. Correct. No. A mending of the threads between life and death. Should thou or any of thy compatriots perish, I will cleave soul to body once more. Because it is my calling, there is little else to explain. A matter of coin. Then I shall wait here patiently until it is acquired. Such is life. Outrage leading to a singular end.
All companions talk about their experiences, but don't worry too much. These are the main characters, so they can't turn into mind flayers, right? Okay, now it's time to get a good night's sleep and then move on. Heading along the road to the goblin camp, we reach a blighted village, where now only goblins live. Although it does not seem that they were the reason for the decline of the village, it looks as if no one has lived here for many years.
Get over there! Surround them like! You spotted us. Good. It's like they say. No fun in skewing a pig what doesn't know he's cooked. We got you surrounded. Here's how this goes. You take one step further, and we'll fill your front with arrows. Or you turn around, and your backside gets the same treatment.
A strange symbol glows, marked on their flesh, and something within you stirs in response.
You're a true soul. My mistake, sir.
Something stirs deep within you, hungry and alert. It's taking something you'll never get back.
You'll get no more trouble from us, promise.
It turns out that the parasite, which has saved us more than once before, saves us again. Because for some reason, all creatures with such a strange mark like that goblin had consider us a true soul and treat us with respect and caution. Maybe this parasite is not as bad as it seems at first glance? Now that we know about the goblin's ability to worship us as a true soul, we can calmly and without a fight enter their camp. But almost inside camp, we suddenly felt sick.
Hear my voice. Obey my command.
The voice is irresistible. You recognize the overwhelming authority that you've used on others, only infinitely stronger. Your vision clouds, leaving you in a dark, featureless shadowscape, nothingness in every direction. Then there are 3 figures before you. An armored male elf exuding power and command. A handsome younger man with a quick, easy smile. And a pale young woman with even paler eyes.
These are my chosen. They speak for me. Aid their search for the weapon, and you will be worthy to stand beside them in my presence.
The visions fade and the voice falters, as a strange energy swells around you. The many-sided artifact. Somehow you understand it's repelling the presence.
My power grows. My forces gather. The reckoning draws near.
Done. Just like that. That relic works in mysterious ways.
It seems that the same goddess that the goblins worship, the Absolute, has just communicated with us. The Shadow Heart's artifact saved us from these visions. But these are not all the useful properties of this artifact, so it is still worth remembering.
Something the matter? Wait. It hurts. A joyous little affliction that visits me with screaming agony on occasion. I'd be lying if I told you I know what causes it. But don't worry. Can't hurt you. Only me. It's just an old wound that hurts me from time to time. Nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to do with the tadpoles, at least, in case your imagination is in danger of getting away from you. It's just something I have to live with. Quite a lot, if I'm being honest. But it always passes quickly, so I can manage. I know. I don't understand how exactly, but I felt it go to you. It's important. Keep it close. I do, but the artifact has a will of its own, and powers to enforce it. It likely won't let me take it back. The best I can do is to stay close. Bide my time. Eventually I'll need to take it. Then I'll have to see what can be done about that. It's not the sort of thing I can just tell anyone. Let's see if we can build up some trust first. I don't know what you mean. It's nothing, really. You're not going to let this go, are you? You might wish you had. I worship Shah, the Mistress of the Night. It is my holy mission to oppose Selûne, her teachings and her followers. It hurts. Now that you have the truth, please don't make a big fuss about it. True. I didn't think you'd react so pragmatically. Perhaps I should have told you sooner. Gladly.
Selûne is the goddess of the moon who created this world, and during its creation, her other half, the darkness, separated from her. So the second goddess, Shar, the goddess of darkness, appeared. And since then, the sisters have been at odds with each other, and the only thing they do is steal each other's children and keep them in prisons for hundreds of years. Finally, reaching the goblin camp, we see that they have captured the bard.
With fragulous crown and with scepter abraid, draw Ragslin, short work of the innkeeper made. The inn burnt to ash. The captives were many. Goblin kind had reduced them to cowering filfhenny. So raise it, your goblets, and drain them with pride. Draw Ragslin, the true soul, had led you glad.
I reckon Draw Ragslin's the gobbo in charge, the way this one's carrying on.
You! Move on!
Do as she says, now. Where was I? Huh?
Wait a tick. That a friend of yours?
Oh, certainly not. What are you doing? I'm busy here.
You lying.
To you? Never. Come, let's continue our ballad. Draw Ragslin, draw Ragslin. I am draw Ragslin. Tumptuous, draw Ragslin.
You broke him.
Wait, wait. Draw Ragslin, we pray, we...
Come on, pigeon. Back to your cage.
Now, look what you've done.
Well, for company in principle, you can save this bard, especially since he sang a good ballad. It turns out that the goblins set up their camp on the ruins of the Saloon Temple. We head into the inner sanctum until suddenly Gale feels sick.
Ah, glad you've a moment for me. My, predicament has become rather urgent. I need a magical artifact to consume. Right now. I've already found enough magic to soothe its disquiet. If you'll just give me what I need.
It turns out that Gale, in his desire to become a powerful mage, went so far as to place a magical artifact in his chest, which constantly needs more and more magical energy. And therefore Gale constantly needs to feed the artifact with various magically saturated items. And if he does not do this, then the artifact will explode. Gale doesn't know how strong the explosion will be, but it will definitely be able to destroy the city. Next, we meet the Goblin Executioner, whom we, as Paladin, definitely do not want to leave alive. Having dealt with the executioners, we release the poor man. He tells us that he was an adventurer who went here with other mercenaries and the druid Halsin in search of the Night Song artifact. As he said, Halsin turned into a bear and was captured, and what happened to him next he does not know. It's better than nothing. Now we know that there is some valuable artifact under this temple, and that the druid Halsin has turned into a bear. In the next room, we find a monk.
Something's on my mind.
Greetings, child. I've met few aside from goblins here.
You recognize the Scourge. This man is a follower of Leviata, goddess of pain.
Ah, are you also here to assist with the prisoner? I was invited to teach them some of my techniques. I live for pain and its intricacies, you see. But alas, these goblins seem to thrive on the crude and primitive. Pain without purpose is a terrible thing. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, one who claims to be a master of pain. Pain is intimate and loving, but trying to discuss that with these creatures. Forgive me, but that look in your eyes, something terrible has happened to you. Because I see those same eyes when I look in the mirror, dear one. We've all suffered in these dark times. It is little wonder you bear scars of pain and anguish. Please, let me alleviate this pain.
I don't see any reason to refuse this rather nice and charismatic priest.
Wonderful! Just wonderful! Wonderful. You want more? I'll give it to you. That's it! Welcome the pain. Let it become part of you. I hope that's a promise, dear one. Sweet child, you bore the pain like a true believer. I am proud to have served you this penance. You're starting to sound like the goddess herself, dear one.
Moreover, he gives us a good buff until the end of the game. Further along the corridor, we see the room in which the bard is kept. Why not help him? Who wouldn't want his exploits to be sung in ballads?
Look at this! I'm quite saved! I guarantee the story of your daring rescue of my person will live on for eons.
Then we will meet him at the camp. Looking for Halsin, I find Drow, who is the leader of these goblins, and I approach her for a few words.
The party has not returned, and half of the intruders escaped your guards.
Sorry, mistress. We mucked up.
Until their sanctuary is found, I will take something precious from you every hour that passes. A trinket, a tongue, a limb.
Ain't no use without my limbs. The lad'll make the prisoner squeal soon enough, I swear.
Silence now, creature, or I will silence you forever.
Her name is Mintara, and it turns out we can join her. And instead of killing all the goblins, we can attack the Emerald Grove with them and kill all the locals. I'm playing a good character, so I won't do that. And it's illogical with plot-wise. Because I want to get rid of the parasite, not kill those who could potentially cure me. Although it is very cool that the game allows you to play as you wish. I tell Mintara that we will attack the Emerald Grove together with her, and I myself think to meet their attack there, because if we take the fight in the grove itself, then it will be easier to fight back. Mintara walks in and starts gathering troops on the approaches to the grove, and as a paladin, I feel sick.
A spasm grips your chest. Your strength falters. An emptiness grows within you, paladin. Something has been lost.
You have broken your oath, paladin. At the close of day, I will be waiting for you. We have much to discuss.
Yes, it's a bit illogical, since I wasn't going to attack the grove, but as it is, you should go to the camp as soon as possible and talk to the knight, because this is the only way to remove this very bad debuff.
The air is heavy. Moisture drips down your forehead. Pain shoots through your fingers. Your hands shake as they reach upward. Your forehead remains drenched no matter how much you wipe.
Chukil Gate Vlakith Mazathok. Can you feel it crawling through you? Tendrils squirming in your chest, gripping your heart, piercing your belly. Your bones popping, your flesh swelling. I can. I see it in you. I feel it in me. We are lost. I will be quick with my blade. First you, then the others, then myself.
Your minds intertwine. You sense a touch of uncertainty, a touch of disgust. I cannot trust my own mind. So it seems I must trust yours. I will wait. But know this. I am watching. If the sickness does not pass come dawn, I will end us all.
I came just in time. You are transforming. Your salvation. And not for the first time. I saved you before. And I'm here to save you again. Don't worry. You will not become a Mind Flayer. Not while I'm around. I'll protect you. We haven't much time, so listen closely. There is great potential within you. It comes from that parasite. Your instinct is to resist the power it gives, but you must accept it, nurture it. I will keep it from consuming you, but for the sake of both of us, you must learn to wield it. For the fate of Faerun. A fight we are losing. For now. You can change that, but only if you embrace your potential. I have to go. The enemy is closing in. I will be back. You'll feel better. I promise.
Yes, it turns out that we will not turn into a Mind Flayer, and you can just forget about treatment and go do your business. But anyway, if you started a quest, then it should be completed. So we should deal with the goblins. But first, we will talk to this handsome knight. He tells us about paladins who broke their oaths and became oath breakers. Regardless of the reason why they broke it, this knight is the guardian of everyone, because he was the first to make an oath and the first to break it. It is important to say that oath breakers are not just evil bastards. They still protect the weak and are generally good, but the methods they use are not always like that. So I can still play as the good guy. Yes, while we are still in the camp, we should talk to the rescued bard.
Ah, my good fellow. Quite the cozy setup you have here. I'll just make myself comfortable. Thank you so much. I was just settling in and reviewing my latest findings. Mind flayers, cultists, and, of course, your esteemed company. Why, I'm practically an expert. They've tentacles, you know? Quite shocking. The druid Halson had some kind of mind flare specimen in a jar in his quarters. A replica, no doubt, but truly fascinating to see up close. here, on the Sword Coast. Impossible. That can't be. You're either an excellent storyteller, or you've experienced something quite exceptional. Tell me, have you noticed any residual psionic malaise since the alleged encounter? Curious. Illithids, their technical name, form a hive mind. One shouldn't be able to hear their dark whispers unless... That's quite impossible. You'd have undergone ceramorphosis by now. If what you say were true, you'd be a mind flayer by now. You? Infected by a mind flayer? Ridiculous. Isn't it? Still, there'd be no harm in me taking a teensy look, would there? I know all the signs. If I just peer in your eye, I could quickly... Oh, dear sweet gods! I mean, yes. I suppose I can. I'll need to research the particulars, however. Give me a bit of time, and I'll have this little issue sorted.
Well, he looks like a person who is definitely able to heal us, so we will trust him and let him do his job.
Ah, my good fellow. Quite the cozy setup you have here. I'll just make myself comfortable. Thank you so much. My research turned up a rather brilliant technique that seems quite actionable. It's not too deep, just behind the orbital socket. I could attempt an extraction. I've a needle in my tunic, after all. I assure you, I've dreamt of it 1,000 times over.
Volo carefully holds one of your eyes open and begins to prod uncertainly with the needle. The needle finds the gap between eyeball and socket. Volo frowns and begins to push. Pain shoots through your body as the needle snags on your optic nerve.
I think I have it!
The needle seesaws back and forth, plucking the nerve like a harp string.
Oh, bother. There's some obstacle in the way. I shall need a more robust implement. Stop. Now? Regrettable. Mark my words. Ceramorphosis will be far more painful than this procedure.
Well, he didn't cure us from the parasite, but now we have a cool brain damage. After this surgery, let's finally find Druid Halsin.
See? It squealed! Hit it again!
Keep your hands steady, 3.
Again! Again! Make it squeal again.
We're juicing it up. The beast came in here with those robbers, killed Dink and Mince too. Boss is thinking of serving it to the wargs.
And it makes funny noises. We made it squeal. Look, you'll see. Give me that rock. I'll show ya.
All right. So you're gonna throw a tantrum about it? Never seen someone so worked up over a stupid animal.
But I want to hear it squeal.
We'll be the ones squealing if we piss off the bear hugger. Hope you can control the furry bastard.
The bear sizes you up, wary but not yet attacking.
Pardon the viscera. One should cherish all of nature's bounty, but goblin guts are quite far down the list. You aided a bear without knowing if it would savage you. A true friend of nature. Or perhaps a lunatic. Either way, I owe thanks. I am the druid Halsin. Yes, but just Halsin will suffice. Unbecoming to demand honorifics from the one who saved my hide.
Parasites in your head that... You mean you have one of them? Oak Father preserve you, child. You're infected, aren't you? The Mind Flayer's spawn. But something's different. You're aware of the monster inside you. You don't bow to the Absolute like the true souls do. How is this possible? That looks very alien. As alien as the Mind Flayers. They do not belong on this world. You weren't speaking lightly when you said you needed help. Let me tell you what I know. I've been studying these parasites for a while now. Ever since I discovered these so-called true souls are infected with them, someone is using very powerful magic to modify these tadpoles. They're using them to exert control over the infected. I'm sorry to say, I can't undo that magic, which means I can't cure you. But that doesn't mean I can't help. I didn't find what I came here for, a way to remove the tadpoles, but I found the next best thing. I found out where they come from. That must be where these enchantments are placed on them. And it's where you'll find your cure. I overheard that the cultists are sending all of their captives to Moonrise Towers. Innocents go in, true souls come out. Given that all of these true souls are infected, it has to be the source for this magic. If you want to find a cure, you must head there and discover how the tadpoles are being manipulated.
After the fight, Halsin transforms back to human form and tells us that the only way to maybe cure us is to reach the Moon Towers. because Moon Towers is the place where parasites come from and where these enhancements, which don't let us transform, are placed on. And he tells us that there are only two ways to get to them. The first is through the mountains, the second through the dungeons. On the way through the mountains, there is a Githyanki settlement that Liesel told about. This is a great opportunity to go and check out another parasite removal method. However, first it is worth saving the grove. We can't just let the tieflings and druids die because of us. We return to the grove and talk to Zevlor.
Gods above, you're alive. A little light, just as the day seems darkest. I'd given you up for dead at the goblin camp. I'm damn glad to be wrong. But what happened? We've seen them massing in the woods. Truly. Hells, I didn't expect it. We were almost ready to leave. Rag. It doesn't matter now, I suppose. You have nothing to apologize for. If it must be bloodshed after all, I'm glad to have you with us. We need to thin the goblin numbers quickly if we're to have any chance of survival. Every ounce of oil that we could spare has been buried out in front of the gate. We'll blow the horn to draw them in and pray our fire arrows strike true. Your courage is catching, it seems. Perhaps I've finally lost my... Make what preparations you deem necessary, and then sound the horn. Let's have this done.
He gives a motivational speech, and the battle begins. It is not so difficult. You just need to place oil barrels in the places where the enemies will go before the battle, and blow them up with a fiery blast. Having dealt with the attack quickly, we are happy because we did not suffer any casualties. Zevlor is very grateful and willing to join us at our camp to celebrate our victory over the goblins.
That's the last of them. Timora, smile on me. They're dead. We did it. Watching gods, you did it. They name us outcasts, hellspawn, foul blood. But the blood of those who fell today ran as pure as any heroes. So I call us by another name. We are survivors. We are family. The road to Baldur's Gate is a long one yet, but you have earned every stride so far. Make your preparations. We leave as soon as we're able.
You. I don't know if you were sent here by gods, or fate, or sheer bloody luck. I don't care. You were a friend when we needed it. And we won't forget that. Should you ever need it, you have family in Baldur's Gate.
But we need not speak of departures just yet. We have time. The road is clear. And I, for one, could use a bloody drink. We'll join your camp tonight, if you'll have us. By all the watching gods, that's Halsin. He'll have some hard words for Korga, I expect. Go, speak to him. You're the reason he has a grove to return to at all. We'll be here when you're ready to travel.
I think we should just enjoy the moment and talk to every character in the camp.
You know, I never pictured myself as a hero. Never thought I'd be the one they'd toast for saving so many lives. And now that I'm here... I hate it. This is awful. We killed some goblins to save some tieflings. The tally of lives didn't change much. But what do I get for all my hard work? A pat on the head and vinegar for wine. Pfft. By all means, go and enjoy yourself. I'll be here, waiting for the sunrise.
Everyone seems to be in high spirits. Strange. You know who I never thought I'd find myself caring for? Exactly right. Never gave them much thought. Certainly not that bunch in the grove. Yet we came through for them. We saved their lives. Odd. It's not talking enough for my liking.
Shadowheart trails off and glances around at the party. She turns back to you, mildly surprised you're still there.
I thought you might have wanted to mingle with the others. No, but I thought you might be keen to get away from me. We haven't always seen eye to eye, after all. Besides, I'm sure there's plenty of people who'll be keen to celebrate most thoroughly with you. Maybe you would, but I'm not cruel enough to get your hopes up, in spite of what some might believe. Have fun, and don't be a stranger.
Ah, hells. I was hoping you wouldn't notice I was gone. No. I'm deeply proud of you. A touch less so of myself. In truth, I don't feel in a festive mood, and I didn't want to cast a grey cloud over the night. These people are still in danger. Karlach, the creature from hell, will still threaten them, as will 1,000 other perils. They aren't ready to get on the road on their own. We all die, but life's still worth the living. Otherwise, what's the point of it? But, off with you. This is your day. Have a dance. Enjoy the music. 12 impossible deeds every day before the sun reaches its apex. That's the way of the blade. Some time alone beneath the stars, and I'll be back to my old self. Promise. Still, it's a night to remember. You've made sure of that.
I have seen the Kithraki tear a screaming Nyogi's legs from its belly to fashion into blades, yet they could not match your nerve today. It was enough to drive me to madness. A pity for us both you've turned your back on me so often. Perhaps. Perhaps not. I will take pleasure when I wish, and from whom I wish. One day, fortune may favor you.
Go on now. Don't waste a night like this talking to me. We'll discuss your problem tomorrow. In truth, I rarely imbibe. The stuff goes right to my head. Before you know it, I'd be breaking into song or declaring love to the first person I laid eyes on. Then you have never heard me singing, which makes you very fortunate. Go on, enjoy yourself. Seek out some wine before it runs dry. There are a lot of thirsty people around here.
Finally done with the main quest of the first act. Now to continue the story, we will need to go to a new location. But at my level, it is still too early to go there, so it's time for additional quests. Since Will asks to go deal with the devil, let's do this quest first. The closest fast travel point to the quest is a blighted village, so we teleport there. We kill everyone we meet on the way, even this sweet couple.
What the hell are you doing?
Anyway, having reached the destroyed bridge, we see this scene.
My, what manner of place is this? A path to redemption? Or a road to damnation? Hard to say, for your journey is just beginning.
What would suit the occasion?
the words to a lullaby, perhaps. The mouse smiled brightly. It outfoxed the cat. Then down came the claw. And that, love, was that. They do know how to write them in Cormier, don't they? Well met, I am Raphael. Very much at your service. Charmed, I'm sure, in more ways than one. We should have a chat, you and I, but not here. This quaint little scene is decidedly too middle of nowhere for my tastes. Come. There, middle of somewhere. The House of Hope, where the tired come to rest and the famished come to feed lavishly. Go on, partake, enjoy your supper. After all, it might just be your last. Not easily rattled, I see. Good. Makes the next part that much more straightforward. What's better than a devil you don't know? A devil you do. Am I a friend? Potentially. An adversary? Conceivably. But a savior? That's for certain. Come now, why play hard to get when you're in deep over your tadpoled head? One skull, two tenants, and no solution in sight. I could fix it all, like that. Oh, that's disappointing. I prefer it when my clients put up a fight. Only to realize victory was never an option. Try to cure yourself, shop around, beg, borrow, and steal. Exhaust every possibility until none are left. And when hope has been whittled down to the very marrow of despair, that's when you'll come knocking on my door. Hope. Such a tease. I've always wondered what a laughing mind flayer sounds like. All those pretty little symptoms, sundering skin, dissolving guts, they haven't manifested yet, have they? One might say you're a paragon of luck. I'll be there when it runs out.
To be honest, when I first saw this scene, I was very impressed, but later on in the plot, I realized that Raphael seems to like to walk around the world and visit all the taverns. People should already know him and chase him away as soon as they see him. But despite his charisma, it's better to be with a tadpole in your head than to burn in hell forever. After walking a little further and killing several strange hyenas, whose ears, by the way, make the most useful potion in the game, we finally find the devil.
One horn, the stink of Avernus, Advocatus Diaboli.
Well, I'll be God's damned. The Blade of Frontiers. Thought I'd shaken you for good. That'll teach me to underestimate you. Bloody right. An honor to be chased by the Blade of Frontiers, but
A great heat roars through you. Her heat, fiery as the hells. Then you're lost in visions of demonic armies as you tear through a landscape of fire and blood. The Blood War. You saw it from above as the Nautiloid passed through Avernus. This woman was on the front line.
what was that?
Evidence. Proof that you're a devil. A gladiator in the archdevil Zariel's army.
I can explain, but it's a whole situation. If you just hear me out...
Another vision. Karlach's blade raised, slicing through devils, Zariel's servants, as her eyes dart around, seeking escape. Her rage and desperation seep into you. She's a victim of the Blood War, not an agent of it.
She's trying to trick us. Don't believe her lies.
You saw the truth. I never wanted to serve Zariel. I was enlisted in her army against my will. Forced to fight, and fight I did. When I saw an opportunity to get away, I took it. Finally home. Or near it, anyway.
You served her. That's enough to damn you.
It turns out that the devil that Will told us about, or better said Karlach, is not actually a bloodthirsty demon that kills everything in its path, but only a victim of the archdevil Zariel, in whose name she was forced to fight in hell, and at the first opportunity she ran away from her. After the dialogue with Karlach, we talk with Will. He is worrying that now his employer is going to be mad. Well, because now he definitely won't bring Karlach's head, and now, most likely, employer will want Will's head. After waiting for the night in the camp, Will's employer does come to us.
Hellsfire. She's coming.
Will, you've been naughty. And you know what happens when you're naughty.
Gods damn it. Anyone but her.
Will, you absolute stinker. You kept me a secret? Time to let the Hellcat out of the bag. Call me Mizora. I'm Will's patron, the fount of his power. My pet's been unruly, and his leash needs a yank. We had a deal, Will. But Karlach's still breathing.
I've taken more pleasant shits than you, Mizora. And at least those can be buried after.
That's no kind of talk for a lady. By the way, Karlach, Zariel sends her regards.
You told me! Devils only! She's a tiefling, not a monster!
How precious. The little pupster's found his bark. Clause G, Section 9. Target shall be limited to the infernal, the demonic, the heartless, and the soulless. Karlach meets the criteria, pet. Trust me on this. Kill me? I wouldn't recommend it. I die, and Will turns to a lemure and gets sucked right down to the hells. Which reminds me.
Will burns in the fires of Avernus. The lightning storms of Dis strike his flesh. His soul passes through each layer of the hells, gaining their essence and their torment.
That's better.
What the hells have you done?
A promise broken, a price paid. You know the terms. Get used to the new form, pet. There's no going back. Some magic even I can't undo. Now, let's see how the frontiers fare without their precious blade. Karlak, keep an eye on him, would you? I'll be keeping mine on you. Oh, and Will, don't forget, our pact still stands. Ta-ta.
Now, Will doesn't look like a folk hero, but only like a folk villain. Although it's funny that if we killed Karlak, Will would of course not have grown horns, and he would still look like a hero. But when he did the right thing, he started to look like a villain. It's actually very similar to Karlak because she also looks like a devil. Although, in reality, it's hard to find someone kinder than her. That's why it's cool that two characters who wanted to kill each other have so much in common. After returning from the camp, we go to deal with the so-called paladins, what are really just mercenaries who were sent by Archdevil Zariel to kill Karlak. They also killed local residents and occupied their house. You can understand this by the corpse in the basement, so we do not spare them and quickly send them to their customer, straight to hell.
Fuck them. Fuck Zariel. I won't go back. I'm never going back. And if any of Mummy's little friends want to pick up where the others left off, they'll find nothing but a pile of ash. That's right, she won't. She can't. She couldn't even lay a finger.
Whew. Had to let off a little steam after facing off with those ignots. Granted, the fire's lasting a little longer than it should. How do I look? Careful, soldier. If I burn any hotter, I might explode. Hear that? Infernal engine for a heart. Lets me burn as hot as the hells. Seems to be running in overdrive since I left Avernus. Won't be seeing my mechanic anytime soon, so I'll just make the most of the extra heat. Just don't get too close, till I've found a way to calm it down.
Well, in fact, this feature can even be useful. Going further along the road, we see a cave. It looks quite attractive and not dangerous at all. So I don't see any reason not to go into it. Having gone a little deeper into the cave and neutralized several traps, we come across two caravan drivers who have fallen into a trap and cannot leave the cave, because gnolls are waiting for them at the exit. So we help them and deal with hyenas' overgrowths in a very difficult fight. After the fight, the caravan driver Rugen is infinitely grateful to us, but instead of money as a reward, he only gives us a password that will allow us to enter some secret lair of traitors. Well, it's better than nothing. Besides, I got a lot of ears from these hyenas, which is a very valuable thing. After setting up camp and spending the night right here in the cave, we see this scene.
You don't sleep well, flitting between dreams and nightmares. Maybe you wake up because you know something is wrong, or maybe you just get lucky.
Shit. No, it's not what it looks like. I swear.
Unexpectedly, a pale, white-haired, red-eyed, toothy, mannered, eccentric, well-dressed elf with click marks on his neck would turn out to be a vampire. Of course, we are not some kind of savage to attack a vampire with an aspen wedge. So we listen to what he has to say, and he says classic vampire things. He says that he is good and only feed on animals and thieves, so there is no need to kill me. It is better to let me bite you because I will become happy and strong. Of course we trust Astarion 100%, so we let him bite us, but we should not let him drink too much blood, because he can accidentally kill us.
It's like a shard of ice into your neck, a quick, sharp pain that fades to throbbing numbness. Your breath catches, your pulse quickens.
In the morning, Astarion explains that after his bite, we did not turn into vampires only because Astarion is not a real vampire, but only the offspring of another vampire. That is why He does not have all the vampire abilities, but he has hunger like a real high vampire. He also explains that normally vampires can't walk under the sun because it will just burn them, and Asterion himself hasn't seen the sun for 200 years. But after being planted with a tadpole, he started walking under the sun calmly, so he doesn't really want to get rid of such a useful parasite. We have finished with the vampire for now. We move further in the direction of the place that Rugen told us about. Having already approached it, we see a burning estate and understand that a few minutes ago, there was a battle here. Drow and goblins attacked and kidnapped the Duke who was here. This elf girl whom we saved from a trap in a burning house tells us about it. By the way, she recognizes Will, and we learn that Will is the son of the same kidnapped Duke. The girl asks us to save the Duke because he is the most important person in Baldur's Gate, and she tells us that the cultists who kidnapped him are most likely keeping him somewhere in the Moon Towers. Well, I already understood that now literally all roads lead to the Moon Towers. Of course, we agree to save the nobleman, but after walking a little further into the barn, we see a mountain of explosives and a guy with a fiery hand. We tell him the password that Rugen gave us, and he calms down and gives us the keys and tells us to go through the secret passage in the closet. Don't ask me why a group of caravan traders set up a secret base in a random shed. Nevertheless, we go inside and walk in without a problem, sell off all our unnecessary, perfectly legal, ragtag crap, and rob these merchants a little. Returning to the surface and walking a little further down the road, we unexpectedly see a dragon. Liesel says it's a Githyanki dragon, and we need to go to them and get and report the parasite in our heads. We do as she says and see this scene.
Stop wasting time, Beretta. You're not here to play with the locals.
Of course, Kithrak. We merely sought to...
No excuses. Question, kill, then move on. Find the weapon. Our queen watches us. Fail her at your peril.
A red dragon. I envy its knight. Would that I rode such a steed. A crash must be near. Come, my kin await. Rider, my time is short. Lead me to...
Shh. Such a familiar tone. Were I not merciful, I would slice the skin clean from your meat. Yet you are not bleeding. For I am nothing if not merciful. Your name, child.
Lae'zel.
Lae'zel. Proud. Regal, even. You will call me Gestil Kithrak.
Voss, Knight Supreme. The Queen's silver, the Queen's sword.
I am who you say. A Geich vessel has fallen from the sky, Lae'zel. Thieves aboard have taken a weapon most precious. It is polyhedric in shape and inscribed with the sacred runes of our people.
You suddenly feel a strange anxiety take hold. Not your own, but that of the artifact you carry. Somehow, it's afraid. You attune your mind to it. The artifact does not want to fall into the Gith Raiders' hands any more than it does the Absolute followers.
Take word to your creche. You are to join our search.
It turns out that the Githyanki are looking for some weapon that was stolen from their goddess. We understand that they are looking for the same artifact that we carry with us. We absolutely cannot just give him away. He is the only thing that protects us from turning into a mind flayer. Therefore, we telepathically convince Liesel not to give anything away, and we peacefully go our separate ways with Githyanki. We can't beat the dragon now. Despite what just happened, Liesel still wants to get to the nearest Gith's settlement as soon as possible and remove the parasite. However, we are still too weak in knowing the character of the Giths. I will not be surprised if the cure for the parasite is a head off the shoulders. Therefore, we go in a different direction and clean up the map. I decided to test my strength a bit and tried to kill the Oathbreaker Knight in the camp. I expected that I wouldn't be able to kill him now, but is he that weak or I'm that strong? It doesn't matter anymore. I got my 1,000 that I gave before to stop being an Oathbreaker, and 3 throwing spears and 600 XP, not much to be honest. I'd say it's not worth it. Let's teleport to the Blighted Village and move down the road.
No, you have her. Please, we just...
Lads, for the love of all that is holy, I've never clapped eyes on your poor sister.
Drop the act, hag. You was the last to see Mayrina.
Just let her go. Please.
You there? Please, I don't know what's come over these boys. I just want to go home.
Stop this! We won't ask again.
Careful! Don't trust a word out of her mouth. Our sister went to the hag, and we ain't seen her since.
Hand over heart, I don't know their sister. I will gladly help you all look for her, though.
Enough. Where is she?
Bollocks! You were supposed to rush to my defense, love. Fat lot of good you are. Some advice? You ever darken my door, you'd best have that head bowed and an apology at the ready. Bye-bye now.
Bloody hells. She just disappeared. Ain't seen nothing like that before.
She could shoot fireworks out of her backside for all I care. The hag has Rena.
It's our sister, Mayrina. Well, she was in a bad way after her husband died.
Started saying weird things, like how she was gonna bring him back.
Next thing, she's gone looking for the hag. Of all the stupid things to do. And we haven't seen her since. And no good ever came from dealing with a hag.
None of this matters, all right? We need to get her back, and fast! Are you joking? I ain't got a clue who you are. No way I'm leaving Rena to you.
But, Joel...
Not a chance. We're getting her back on our own. Now, come on.
We follow the brothers and see sheeps, talk with them, and the illusion dispels. And instead of beautiful fields, we see a typical Chelyabinsk. Instead of sheeps, we see redcaps. But they still perform their function, that is, they bleat like sheeps. We kill these bloodthirsty monsters for the sake of justice and XP. After the fight, we went further and saw the corpses of brothers, and the hunter who tells us to be careful with the old lady because she is a very strong monster, and it would be better to negotiate with her, not fight. He is here precisely because of this, because he is hunting prey that he has not been able to track for a long time. But he came to the grandmother to ask her where his prey is hiding. We ask him who he is hunting, and he tells us that he is tracking a vampire named Asterion, and he has a task to bring him alive. I don't want him to sell his soul to a grandmother, so I tell about Asterion's location, and then I tell Asterion that he is being hunted, and that I tell the hunter where to find Asterion, so that there would be a fair fight. Anyway, let's go beat the grandmother.
I don't want a crumb left on that plate, girl.
Auntie Ethel, please. One more bite and this pie is gonna come back up to say hello.
Don't make me get the wooden spoon. You're eating for two, so get to it. If it isn't the cheekiest pup of them all. You'd best have one hells of an apology for me, young man. I do like the mouthy ones. You know, I was gonna give you a swift kick up the arse and show you the door, but I think you and I could have a bit of fun together. Gods grant me patience. Eat up, Mayrina. I won't say it again. Keep that hole under your nose shut, or things will get messy.
That hag doesn't tell us what to do.
What is it? What's going on? That can't be true. Auntie Ethel.
They were being rude, and I detest rudeness.
You monster! The deal is off!
Enough! Away with you! Blessed silence at last. Some time in the cage should do her good. And you'll regret sticking your nose in my business.
I'm strong enough to take out the grandmother in one turn, which is a bit boring for me, so I load a save and give her a chance to escape. We pass through the illusion behind the fireplace and go down to the basement. We catch threats from the old lady, but we are too powerful to be scared. After examining the basement, we see strange paintings. Dwarf who asked to stop his illness, and the hag turned him to stone. The girl who asked not to see her family anymore, that hag gouged out her eyes. Another girl who asked to have a brilliant mind, the hag cut off her head and put it in her hands. A guy who would like to enjoy his beauty forever. Old lady cut off his head, put it on a stick, and sealed the boy's soul in a mirror, which she placed in front of his head. Also, we see a still-alive elf who sees the future, and that's why he's gone crazy, because when he looks at himself, he only sees a corpse. And when he looks at us, he sees a mind flayer. The hag fulfilled people's wishes exactly as they asked. We also see a door in which the soul of a thief who wanted to rob a grandmother is locked. And now, he serves as her watchman. But in fact, this door is just an illusion. So we just go through it, kill the puppets of the grandmother, jump through the mind-poisonous clouds, and fight the grandmother. Still, she's not as strong as she seems, but before she dies, she offers us a power, +1 to some ability like strength, dex, or anything else. I would happily accept it, but I can't break my oath because if I do, then I can't change my subclass to Oathbreaker because I killed the knight who was doing it, and I won't be able to remove the debuff from my broken oath, and I won't be able to use any paladin spells, and I won't be able to change the class. It makes me as weak as possible. It can be called a soft lock, so I'll have to be good for the rest of the game. After an easy fight with the grandmother, we release the girl, and she tells us that she wanted to give her unborn child in exchange for the resurrection of her husband. If I'm honest, I don't sympathize with her at all. With the help of a wand that we found in the room behind Grandma, I resurrect her husband in the form of a zombie. The girl, of course, complains, saying, "I thought the old lady wouldn't screw me up, stupid girl." We give her the wand that controls the zombie, and she goes with him to Baldur's Gate with the hope of curing him. Well, let's wish her luck, and let's go check what happened to Grandma's museum. The door in which the thief's soul was locked disappeared. The elf stopped screaming and seemed to come to his senses. The dwarf is angry with her because, with her death, the deadly disease he was suffering from also disappeared, which means that the old lady infected him with. The dwarf thanks us and promises to reward us at the first opportunity, but of course, he didn't even ask my name. After finishing the grandmother's quest, I decided to walk around the map a bit, and I came across a dying dwarf and 2 of his friends. They say that a bear did this, so we decide to go and kill that bear, not because I feel bad for the dwarf, but because I can. We kill a bear, see how a baby bear eats its own mother, and go to deal with what is left from the goblin horde. We cut all the remaining goblins and explore their temple in search of a passage to the dungeon. We solve a not difficult puzzle and go down a very long ladder into the dungeon. We see a minotaur who wants to break the door, but he does it little by little. But the minotaur looks quite powerful, so we go to the hole in the wall and jump down the stones. After walking a little further, we are caught off guard by something that looks much more powerful than a minotaur. But I'm already at such a level of character that it seems to me that I can no longer lose any battle. We deal with the monster without problems, and after his death, his minions stop fighting. Drow talks about some magical forge, and that he is the only one who knows its location. After my offer to find this forge together, he and his servants attack me. Well, he's not a problem for me at all. So I quickly kill him and loot the memory stone that shows me the location. Further exploring the underground world, I was surprised by a lizard that crawled out of the ground almost immediately after the fight with the boss. And in terms of HP, it was not worse. I even almost died during this fight, but still, this game is not that difficult. Walking further to the shore, I find dwarven slavers who are looking for a runaway slave because she has stolen some sergeant's boots. As a paladin, I hate slavers, and so I slaughter all these dwarves. Their leader also turned out to be a necromancer and called zombies to help him. But how good that almost all enemies in this game can be dropped from a height, and thus one-shot them. A Thunderwave spell is a must-have. Having stolen the boat from these dwarves, we swim in the dark of the underground lake. On our way, we deal with some friends of those dwarfs. And then we swim to some ruined dwarven city.
Weapon at ready, lass. Company's calling.
What do we got here? Dead hoon walking, seems like.
We killed 2 more bandits on the pier. Also, I found some historian dwarf, who, after we talked a little bit about the history of this ruined city, gives us hell iron, a very useful material in the second act. After walking a little around the dwarven camp, we understand that there are dwarven absolute cultists who are trying to dig out their true soul, which fell under the rubble, and dwarven mercenaries who also want to dig out their true soul because he owed them money. We talk first with the leader of the mercenaries and agree that when we deal with the blockage, we will attack the cultists together and divide the loot equally. Then we approach the leader of the cultists and say that we have explosives that can be used to clear the blockage. Place a grenade near the rubble and detonate it with another grenade. We release Nir's true soul and communicate with him.
Worthless slaves! Your incompetence has been my ruin!
Does not.
This Nir is a scumbag. He is, like all Drow Lolth, arrogant, selfish murderer. I'm so sure about all Drow because they all worship a bloody spider goddess named Lolth who marks her followers with red eyes, so all Drow with red eyes are scumbags. Together with the mercenaries, we attack the cultists and kill them in a heavy battle. The battle, by the way, lasted 20 minutes. I'm serious. The worst thing that can happen is crowd-on-crowd battles, because before each of characters thinks and moves, an eternity will pass. After the battle, the leader of the mercenaries wants to rob us and demands that we give half of the loot to him. I tell him to fuck off, and he agrees. Walking around the location a bit, I find ore and molds for smelting armor and weapons, and it seems I find the same forge that the Drow was talking about. To craft armor, you need to defeat the robot boss. Normal attacks do not harm him. First, you need to heat him up. To do this, you need to make the boss walk on lava and then lure him to the anvil. You need to pull the lever and hit it with a giant hammer. Before the boss fight, you should know that you can activate a valve with a bench or a lever with a hammer remotely. Just shoot them with a bow. Also, the robot attacks only the person who last harmed it. I even accidentally died because I didn't turn off the opportunity attack, and Karlach automatically punched the fleeing boss and thus turned him onto her, and he one-shotted her. Therefore, at least before this battle, you need to put an opportunity on ask so that it does not activate automatically. And so the boss is still easy. He can be defeated even at the first level. Further exploring the underworld, I cut out its entire population. And I find another drow who apparently was also looking for that forge and went crazy in the process. I rescue some dwarf from a poisonous trap and follow him to some peaceful mushroom settlement. Walking further through the Myconid colony, I see a very strange picture, namely a hobgoblin scientist. Of course, he is not as charismatic as Dror Razglin, but he is also impressive. He asks what brought us here. We talk about our problem with the illithid parasite in the head. He is very surprised that we haven't turned into a mind flayer yet, and calls his friend who he thinks can help.
I hope this is important, Zerg. My Zergwood samples need constant attention.
It is. This adventurer has an illithid tadpole inside his head, but he hasn't turned.
No ceremorphosis? That's impossible, but intriguing. Are you looking to have it extracted?
Geich, your head will make a fine trophy for my queen.
Please hold. I understand your rage against my kin. One of my brethren forced a tadpole into your eye. Or ear, perhaps? But I assure you, I stand with the Society of Brilliance, not the colonies of my people.
A good mind flayer, he probably eats only the brains of evil guys. He says that all mind flayers are united by one mind that is controlled by the main brain. There are many such brains, and they each organize their own colonies. He was part of such a colony until he managed to escape and regain his own self. Since then, he lives peacefully and researches the beneficial properties of mushrooms. He offers us his help. He will not be able to cure us of the parasite, but he will be able to try to restrain its development. But for this, he needs specific mushrooms that can be found in a nearby tower. So let's go there. On the approach to the tower, we are greeted by several magical turrets. They can only be damaged by thunder, so we let Gale go forward. Having dealt with the turrets, we go inside the tower. But we see a big magic elevator. Unfortunately, it is not working. Having entered the balcony and jumping down the mushrooms, we get to the mushroom laboratory and wander the mushrooms that the mind flayer asked us to find. At this point, you can leave the tower, but I want to explore it to the end. Descending another floor below, I find myself in a room with a magic generator. After reading in the book lying on the table about the magical properties of one flower whose petals lie near the generator and finding one in the yard near the tower, without thinking for a long time, I push this flower directly into the generator, and it starts working. After starting the generator, we light all the magic lanterns, turn off all the turrets, and turn on the elevator. Having climbed the elevator to the top of the tower, we are met by robot guards, who, no matter what we say, will attack us. Having dealt with the robots, I get a cool halberd from the boss and a ring, which, if put on, a secret button will appear on the elevator that teleports us to the basement of the tower, in which I wander a good staff for Gale. Having collected all the mushrooms, we return to the Mind Flayer. It turns out that the Mind Flayer also did not help us study or get rid of the parasite. On the contrary, he only made it stronger than before. But at least he gave us a ring, which, according to him, can restrain the power of this parasite. Well, continuing to explore the dungeon, I find a secret location with a settlement of fish people who worship some bloody god.
Our bones to build your temple in the deep.
A wave of pure devotion washes over you, and with every surge, you feel a presence grow in response.
Word, priest! Promises! Your god wants proof! Wants blood!
These beings of Kuatoa, former Mind Flayer slaves that manifest their gods through sheer belief.
You, our Lord of Murder, demands sacrifice. You will be an offering for the great god Boal.
That's so, Cutlet. I'm a god, and I fancy a bit of murder. Simple enough. Well, priest, Boal wants a sacrifice. Boal wants blood! Oh, what's that then? See, you got meat to spare. What you got for blessed Boal? That sounds like a lot more blood. A lot more mess. Good. Go then, Chosen. Tell the surface world Boal is coming. And so you don't forget. Here, this blade is my tongue. And I want a taste of every life you take.
Well, I guess this is all that is interesting in the first act. In order to go further with the plot, we need to get to the moon towers in any case, and then the second act of the game will begin. But it is also quite large, so I will talk about it next time.